Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And we have a great article here from Yahoo Finance, which I will leave in the description down below so you guys could check it out for yourselves. So, what I wanted to talk about in today's video, I have been very vocal about how I feel about Hans Vestberg's leadership. And at this juncture of Verizon and where the company stands, I put this all on Hans. Yes, there is leadership below him, but he's the one that has the final say so. So I think there are some members of the leadership that are telling Hans, hey, we need to extend our retail distribution. We need to keep it open longer. And Hans is the final one that says, no, we're not doing that. We're going to follow my plan. At least of course, that's not a specific issue that I'm hearing. I'm just kind of using the retail distribution as an example, but that's what I'm being told how Hans is. He's a yes man. So he gets very upset if something is brought to his attention that doesn't go according to his plan. Gets very angry from what I'm being told. So I put this all on him, and I've been very vocal about how I think as a leader he's taking this company in a bad direction. So here in this article, and again, just a quick disclaimer as usual, I'm no stock expert, I'm no financial expert, so don't go and buy and sell any of your stock based on what I say. So 63% ownership of the Verizon shares are heavily dominated by institutional owners. So another negative for Verizon as they head into this 2023, if they continue losing share, if they continue posting negative financials, some of these institutional owners could start shifting their investments elsewhere. And that also is another negative for the board members and Hans. These institutional owners, especially at 63%, that's a huge part of Verizon. Right? That's a huge part. That should be huge to them. Very important. And to still be taking Verizon in the direction that Hans is just absurd to me. It's mind-blowing in my opinion. Now, a lot of you are still saying, oh, it's the network, it's not working in my area. Again, that is a small anecdotal sample size. I'm looking at it from a national standpoint. I look at the factual numbers, right? There's root metrics, and I know there's mixed feelings about root metrics. There's Ookla, there's OpenSignal. They all show Verizon improving. In fact, root metrics is showing Verizon is leading across the board. If you're looking at 5G, LTE, whatever it is, Verizon leads there. Now, also another number to factor in is churn. If you look at Verizon's churn, it's been relatively stable. Yes, it did peak a bit in this third quarter, but it is not anywhere close to what we've experienced on companies where the network was actually poor. And I'll go ahead and I'll reference T-Mobile in early 2012, 2013, 14, 15, and I'll also reference Sprint. These are the companies where the network was the problem for a long time. And it reflected on every single third-party study that you looked at. It reflected on Ookla that it was poor. It reflected on root metrics that it was poor. And in root metrics, it was several categories, right? T-Mobile really struggled with calling because of the lack of coverage. They really struggled with reliability because of the lack of calling. It was poor. And it also, another number by fact, it also showed in the churn. They had churn, Sprint had a churn well above 2%, which is ridiculous for the postpaid industry. Having a churn above 2% is just ridiculous in the postpaid industry. You see churn numbers like that on prepaid, not on postpaid. T-Mobile, even in the 2015, 2016, when I felt like they were at peak Un-carrier growth, they still had a churn of 1.7% because of lack of network. People were switching in some of the more remote areas, rural areas, and the network did not have the reach. There wasn't enough band 12 deployed at that time. It just did not work. And of course, they didn't have enough towers deployed in those areas. So T-Mobile's churn reflected that. Verizon's churn is not reflecting that. There isn't a a huge peak. If the network at national scale was a problem for Verizon, and you guys can trust me on this, Verizon's churn would start inching up. We would start seeing it 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. I promise you, if that was the problem at national scale, I'm talking all, 2.7 million square miles that Verizon covers with its 5G/LTE network. I promise you, if the network was the problem, Verizon's churn would be spiking on a quarterly basis. We are not seeing that. There is no factual number that you can point to that would lead me to believe that Verizon's network is the problem. And even if it's the problem at a small regional scale, that is not going to reflect in the churn. If 200 people left because of the network, they gained, 10,000 more. So that's not a reflection of, oh yeah, the network is bad. Sprint and T-Mobile are the perfect example of having a big network issue at scale. It sucked everywhere pretty much. So just keep that in mind as you think about Verizon, right? Churn, the third-party testing, route metrics, all that. You have to look at it all objectively to form an opinion. You can't sit there and say, oh, I'm at this place, this doesn't work, it sucks. No, you can't speak from one experience and make it sound like it's nationally. No, it does not. That's not how this works. So Hans has to take Verizon in a different direction. They have a kickoff event early January, so I'll be tuning into that. That's gonna be more of the corporate stuff on how they're gonna proceed into 2023. Then I'm hoping we get an analyst day. I do hope they make some changes before that analyst day, because they need to head in a different direction. They need better momentum. We need to start seeing Verizon pick it up. If not, they just need to put in new leadership. And I'll continue preaching that in 2023. There is not one move right now that I'm being told that has me excited about anything from Hans Vestberg. So let me know what you think about that in the comment section down below. Just kind of wanted to speak on that today. Huge ownership of institutional owners, 63%. A lot of them should be concerned, right? Hans is not taking the company in the proper direction. The premium play is not working. Oftentimes, and I'll close out the video with this, oftentimes the consumer, and I'm talking the average consumer, they do not care where the connection comes from any company. They don't care if it's from a toilet. They don't care if it's coming from a tree. They don't care if it's coming from a tire, right? As long as it works, they don't care where it's coming from. And that's why T-Mobile is getting so good, because T-Mobile is what I consider good enough to where if that consumer grabs that phone in the metro, urban core, even suburban, even now in some remote areas, they've got work to do. But when they have that phone, it just works, right? The text sends, the calls made, the music streams. That's all the consumer cares about. And I think that's what Verizon is failing to realize. The premium play is not going to work. The consumer does not care where the connection comes from. Just keep that in mind. And I wanted to close out the video on that. So make sure you guys stay tuned to the channel. Like, share, subscribe, follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.